So one thing I hear a lot from atheists, materialists, and now apparently strangely from Jericho movie is the idea that basically interior experiences don't count. That whatever whatever things you may experience about reality during meditation, during under the influence of psychedelic drugs or what have you, those are all illusions, and we should stick to the consensus reality we have out here in in the world. Um, and the arguments is say, oh well, look, we did these brain scans of someone meditating, and look, these regions of the cerebral cortex light up during this particular spiritual experiences, so it's reducible to that thing. Well, um, what couldn't the same thing be said of your normal everyday perceptions? If what I experience internally is an illusion, then why isn't this room an illusion? I mean, what? I mean, certainly there are brain correlates to that as well, and I think that leads back to a common fallacy, which is that correlation does not equal causation. Yes, that any experience I have is going to have a correlate in the brain that just tells you that I am in fact experiencing something. If there's no brainwave states, um, then I'm probably not experiencing something. Although there's a very interesting video on YouTube I'll probably link to of Ken Wilber stopping it, or maybe not stopping his brainwaves, but turning them down to like as close to zero as you can get, and describing the experience of that. So I think that. So I always thought that was interesting. But the point is, I think there's a certain arrogance that says that the beta brainwave state is the only legitimate one. Yeah, for those who don't know brainwave states, there's beta is your normal brainwave state. Alpha is sort of relaxed and unfocused, and then I think theta is like deep uh, is like uh, dream time, and then delta is deep dreamless sleep. Um, and there's also gamma, which is ahead of beta, which is like high levels of concentration. But anyway, so so basically, we're no most of us spend most of our time in beta, which is which is sort of the focused, uh, attentive state where we focus from one thing to another, and so because that's our default state. Well, a lot of people say, well, that's the only legitimate state. If you go into a into a theta state, and experience communion with the cosmos, and realize your oneness with all things, that's clearly an illusion, because that's not part of the consensus reality we experience of every day. And bullshit, bullshit. That's what on what principle can you say that that's an illusion, but what you're seeing right now is not? Um, and Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying don't be skeptical of any altered state. I mean, I know I was describing another video on a psychedelic experience of mine in which I had a vision of Christ, and that kind of transformed my life. And he asked me, well, do I think that Jesus really decided, okay, he's tripping, now I'm going to appear to him? Well, I don't think it happened quite like that. I think it's I would explain things like that in terms of synchronicity. There's uh, you know that an altered state helped bring about something in me, which is synchronistically linked to some purpose. I think I kind of make the assumption, and I consider this assumption to be founded on my on experience, but the assumption that we live in a teleological universe. That even it's not, I don't, not in the sense that everything happens for a reason, but there are things that do happen for a reason, and that if there is a God, then God would would be trying to guide me to a higher place, and so I kind of measured the authenticity of my experiences by the results, and the result of that experience was radical transformation within me. So, that's that's kind of the authenticity I draw from the experience, and so. So I mean, you gotta at some point sort of go with your intuition, and you check your intuition with against empirical reality and against reason. So I mean, you need all those three. You need intuition and imagination, and then empiricism, and then reason, and sort of between the three things, then somehow you get closer to truth. And an important thing is also dialogue and debate with others, and it's through coming through getting other perspectives on it. The more perspectives you get on it, the more you're able to sort of tease apart some of the details and see it from see in a different light. But I would take my spiritual experiences and say, no, they're not. Just because I experienced them doesn't mean they're absolute gospel truth. But I'm going to take. But it doesn't mean I'm going to throw them out either. I think that they have something important to teach. And so I would argue, using William James's idea of radical empiricism, that by taking account of of my own interior experiences, I am being, in fact, more empirical than those who want to say the only experiences of the outer world seen during a beta state are what counts as reality. Or something like that. All right, peace.